Hi, I'm Heather Headley, and I provide short, concise videos that will help you find direction and live a fulfilling life. This video is about understanding the importance of the ego in our journey. As we move along and work toward personal growth or spiritual growth, our ego plays the role of the protector, and how it manifests in our lives is by evoking fear in us and causing confusion. For example, if you are working on healing your childhood wounds and you are trying to move through a pattern differently, you are likely working on learning to respond to an experience as opposed to reacting from your childhood pattern. This requires being aware of what the pattern is and pausing to allow your intuition to lead you in responding to the circumstance as opposed to reacting out of pain. And in this moment of you pausing to respond, your ego will bring in fear, anxiety, and uncertainty to make you question yourself. The ego doesn't want you to navigate these experiences differently, but instead wants you to stay exactly where you are, because that feels safer to the ego. If you change your way of doing things, this causes stress for the ego, and so it brings in fear, anxiety, and uncertainty to stifle you and make you decide to not change your behavior pattern. This is what keeps people stuck and unable to change their behaviors. Navigating our patterns in a different way requires us to be uncomfortable and overcome our egos to move our lives in the direction of peace and harmony. Our work is in recognizing that this is in fact our egos trying to protect us, thank it for trying to protect us, but then bringing in our healthy adult and saying, we no longer need our ego to protect us, but instead, we can change this behavior and still be safe, protected, and supported. A perfect real-world example of this is in a relationship. Let's say that one person in the relationship has always ignored their own needs and desires as a learned behavior of protection, but then they decide that they want to start expressing those needs and desires to their partner. The ego's role in this experience is to come in and say, hold on, stop the process. If you express your needs and desires, your partner might stop wanting to be with you, and then you will be by yourself, and you can't afford to live on your own. What if they reject you? And what if they no longer love you? But the truth is, if you don't express your needs and desires, then you are denying yourself and who you are authentically. And so then the choice is, do you just continue living your life inauthentically and continue denying yourself? Or do you allow yourself to be uncomfortable for a minute to see what happens when you express your needs and desires? Most frequently, the person that you are with that loves you wants to be with who you are authentically, and they will accept you for who you really are and not reject you, leave you, etc. But the ego is so strong a protector that people most frequently are unable to muster the courage to change their patterns due to fear of loss, rejection, etc. Another way that the ego shows up is in our decision making in life. You may be trying to make a simple decision or a difficult decision, but you are trying to decide between two things, for example. What should be a seemingly simple decision turns into a very complex and chaotic situation because of the ego bringing in fear, anxiety, and uncertainty. This makes us second guess ourselves and causes confusion. You can rest assured that you are in your ego or your head if you are feeling confused or feel like multiple things are coming at you at once. It makes you anxious. You're afraid of taking the next step because what if you make the wrong choice? And this is, at its core, not a bad thing because its role is to protect us and to keep us safe. And in doing so, it wants to keep things exactly the same no matter how bad that is. Because that is where the ego is most comfortable, being exactly where it is all of the time. Unless we are able to recognize the role of the ego in these situations, we allow it to direct our lives. We are not living authentically with our hearts and souls. Instead, we are allowing our heads and our egos to drive the bus. If you're working on growing, moving through patterns, understanding, becoming aware, recognizing things so that we can move through life differently, responding instead of reacting, then recognizing the ego is critically important because it allows us to realize that we are not leading with our heart and soul. We are not leading with our intuition. We are not feeling our way through life. We are thinking our way through life. And that is when confusion, fear, and anxiety show up. So if you are moving along in your life and you start to feel anxious, confused, and fearful, you are leading with your head and your ego. Becoming aware of that is the first key to moving through it and navigating in a different way. I hope that this simple video has shown you how the ego impacts our lives and our growth. It grips us, keeps us in fear, and wants to keep us exactly where we are. And that is obviously not leading with our heart and soul, leading with our intuition. The next video I put out will be about intuition and how you can recognize that you are leading with your intuition, living with your heart and soul. I will give you a hint. It looks calm, peaceful, harmonious, balanced, and feels very certain. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video.